you so much. Everybody's so enthusiastic. There's already 10 devotees this morning. So thank you so much. I'll go ahead and get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantik. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are continuing to read Madhurya Kadambini by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and translated by His Holiness Pali Swami. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick. There we go. You see it, right? I need to change that.
Not yet, Mataji.
Not yet.
You have
Not
two
yet.
screen. You have two screens.
Oh,
or...
okay. Sorry, Prabhu. Yeah, let me share again. I do not want to share this. Let me go back. Sorry.
You are seeing the.
You're seeing the
presentation screen.
The presentation.
Slide.
Okay. Yeah. Let me change it real quick. Okay. Now do you see it?
Yes.
Definition of pure bhakti.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So we are, I'm hoping that everybody has their book with them because it will be helpful, right, when we are going through the verses and just to read and understand and be relate to where we are in the section. So right now I'm on page 6 and the section is Bhakti is always distinct from karma and jnana. That's the section we are at. So the definition of pure bhakti, right, yesterday we spoke, kind of briefly went over it here. Nectar of Devotion, the Paribhasa Sutra, the main reference verse of Nectar of Devotion says this way: Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena Krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttama. So the primary characteristics of pure bhakti is anukulena Krishna anushilanam, devotional service that is favorable to Krishna. This is a very important point. Secondary characteristics are that it is devoid of other desires of jnana and karma. So there is no desires for gaining any jnana or karma, but rather when devotional service is done with the pure intention of satisfying for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord in alignment with Krishna's desires, that is really pure bhakti. So let's go to the next one. So this section, bhakti is always distinct from karma and jnana. We are going to look at the relationship between karma and jnana and bhakti, right? So the first section is talking about the first verse is talking about the relationship of jnana yoga with bhakti. Okay, so it says in the so here's the verse, right? Shreya Srim Bhakti Udasyate Vibho Kushyami Ye Kevala Bodha Labhyate Tesam Aso Kleshala Eva Nishyate Nanyad Yathastu Latusha Ganitanam. Oh Lord, if fools give up bhakti, the all-inclusive path, and suffer to attain realization of Atma without bhakti, they simply attain suffering and nothing else. They are like fools who beat empty husks. Sorry about that. My cat is just going on. Are you hearing that or no?
Not little bit.
Little bit,
Okay.
Mataji.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam, this is 10:14:4. So here what happens is the explanation is given that in the absence of bhakti, practices of karma, jnana, and yoga are really fruitless. It is like, having the empty husk, and if you're going on beating it, right, there's no rice in it, and it's coming from Uddhava Gita. It's just the husk with nothing in it. Similarly, if anybody is following the practice of karma, jnana, and yoga, but bhakti minus bhakti, no, there's no point in it at all. That's the section, the first one that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is referring to. Now let's look at the next one. This is the karmic reliance on bhakti. Okay, so this verse is Tvaktva sadharmam charanabhujam hare bhajam apakvota prate yato yadi yatra padram abhut pushyakem kovartha apto bhajatam swadharmata. So if a person, having given up his duties in Varnashram, begins the worship of the Lord's lotus feet and happens to deviate or not reach perfection, there is no misfortune for him at all in the future. But what does the person who follow all duties of Varnashram but does not worship the Lord gain? And this is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17, right? So here the relationship of karma, like varnashram, and the relationship of the Lord's lotus feet. So what it says is, even in Bhagavad Gita, right, we know Arjuna will ask this question. What happens to that yogi who has done some of the bhakti and everything, but he's not able to complete everything? Then what happens to that? And then Krishna says that he'll definitely continue the path later on. So here's the advantage, right? So if somebody follows varnashram and they are connected with the Lord, but they are not able to do completely in perfection, it is still okay, because everything that has been done is like a bank account. It is going to continue throughout the next life. However, if a person strictly follows the varnashram, perfectly does all the duty, minus the Lord, minus bhakti, there's no use. There's no fruits at all. See how dependent it is? So again, now earlier we saw the relationship of jnana, and now we have the relationship of karma. Very important. Minus bhakti, there is no point. Let's go to the next verse. This talks about the position of the yogis. Again, the dependence on bhakti. Pure havaman bhavavo piyogina swadharpiteha nija karma labdhaya vibhodya bhaktaiva kathopinataya prapedyetena jakshya te gatim parim. O Lord, possessing unlimited glory, O Lord, who does not fail his devotee, many yogis in the past, offering their activities to you and developing realization through devotional activities, easily attained your association. And this is Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.5. So here also the explanation is given. So yogis, right? When you think about yogis, we are talking about the yoga who are completely focused in the dhyana yoga, who's focusing on the Paramatma in the heart. And if the yogis are clearly, if minus bhakti, if they are just focusing on the yoga processes, they are not going to get anywhere. Or it is so hard, very hard to follow that process. But the moment they come in touch with the relationship with the Lord, then what happens? They get the Lord's association. This is huge. I mean, yoga process, as long as they didn't have any bhakti in it, they didn't do anything. But the moment Krishna came into the picture, they have Lord's association and they go back to Godhead. That's huge. Beautiful verse. So that's what we saw. The relationship of jnana yoga, the relationship of karma yoga, and the relationship of yoga. Yeah, so these are the three sections. So when we talk about jnana, karma, and yoga, so all three of them, they are without bhakti, they are useless. Like they don't really get any results. But the moment bhakti comes into it, the whole relationship changes, and they really give the fruit of the results of all of these three processes. Now, the next section here. So it is seen from the above verses that the accomplishment of results on the path of jnana, karma, and yoga, etc., are completely dependent on bhakti. Whereas the accomplishment of the result of practice of bhakti, which is prema, is never dependent on karma, jnana, or yoga. This is it, right? So all three are dependent on a bhakti, but bhakti is independent. Bhakti doesn't need any of these things. It's completely independent. And that's the next verse. Tasman mad bhakti yuktasya yogino vasimadatmana na jnanam na cha vairagyam prayashreyo bhavetatha. Therefore, for a devotee engaged in bhakti, with mind fixed on me, the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation is generally not beneficial for bhakti. So, very clearly, like Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 20, 31, it is saying that bhakti is completely independent. We do not need all other processes to come. One can directly practice bhakti. The next the next verse is talking about jnana and vairagya. Completely, it automatically generates with the practice of bhakti. Can you imagine that? So dharman samasya yat sarvam mam bhajeta satu samata. He who gives up all paths and simply worships me is the best among men. Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 11, 32. Not only that, bhakti achieves the results of karma, jnana, and yoga without depending on these processes at all. Wow, look at that. So when somebody practices bhakti, which is completely independent, you are already going to get the jnana and you're going to get the renunciation. And in addition to that, you're also going to get the mercy of the Lord, right? The next verse, actually, I'm running out of time here, but the next section is really talking about bhakti does not take help of anything. So prema bhakti is never dependent on karma, jnana, or yoga. And bhakti is independent because of its supreme power and gives life to other processes. I think I may continue this tomorrow. And here is the verse, right? This is also Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 7. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janyati Asyu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahitukam. Very frequently quoted verse. What does this say? By rendering devotional service unto personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So very beautiful devotees, so bhakti itself has got everything in it. We do not need to do separate jnana and vairagya and all the other things, karma and all that. But as long as one is completely, sincerely on the path of bhakti, everything else is going to come into the life. So we have to go on, Prabhu? So should I just finish this off in 2 minutes, this section?
Yes, ma'am.
How is everybody feeling? Okay. So the next verse here was really bhakti does not take the help of anything. I'm not going to read the Sanskrit words, but going on to the translation. Everything that can be achieved by karma, penance, jnana, vairagya, mystic yoga, charity, on all other auspicious means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through bhakti. If somehow or other my devotee desires swarga, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benediction. Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 20, 32 to 33. Can you imagine what Krishna is given the guarantee over here for us? So that's why, like, this book is so important, like the potency of bhakti. That's the big section here. Look at that. And then next section is without bhakti, these processes do not give the result. If one is devoid of bhakti, one's birth, scriptural knowledge, japa, and austerities are only decorations on a dead body to attract common people. And this is from Haribhukta Subodaya 3:11. So that's why Srila Prabhupada also warned us, right? We have to be very careful. Who are we listening to? What resources are we listening to? Because if somebody is just artificially making a show out of bhakti, artificially just doing the chanting, artificially doing this Bhagavad Pravaha and things like that, but internally, if they are not practicing bhakti themselves, then it is futile. There's no point in it. So that's why we have to be very careful. And that's the section here. It is saying that bhakti is the essence. That's really all in a nutshell. Bhakti is the essence of it. So we have completed that section, and tomorrow we will look at the glorification of bhakti, how bhakti is not dependent on purity, faith, or things like that. So thank you so much, dear devotees, for giving me this opportunity.